So yeah, I can tell you're confused by internal time consciousness or what that exactly means. So I'll give like a general summary because I think it will come up in being in time. You'll kind of see where he was coming from. So yeah, to put it very simply, the takeaway from those manuscripts is that time is not just like a static moment. Time is something that's thick. Like some time is something that like stretches a little bit into the future and a little bit into the past. Like when we have like a conscious moment, the important thing is not just like what's imminent in that. It's not like a screenshot of your life. It's like there are acts of like protension where like you're a little bit like you're anticipating a little bit what comes next, and like retention where like past moments also fill in your understanding of the moment. So
This is such a human understanding of time. I think Stephen Hawking has a very different view.
we're not going to mention physics at all. Although Einstein will come up, but yeah. Okay, yeah, we can't. I don't think we can put Stephen Hawking in dialogue with these guys. But well, basically, like Husserl wasn't trying to and okay, to your point, like Husserl wasn't trying to explain the physical analysis of time.
Is it only our perception, humans' perception of time?
Well, sort of, but like he thought it was more than just perception. Like he thought this was like he was trying to explain like how intentions, if you remember that from our last video, like how those could actually exist in time. Like how we have like an intention of like a cup sitting on a table, and like have that actually mean like mean something like universally that we can also transmit through language and people understand. Like how is that ideal essence fulfilled? So he started to realize that to have these intentions, like you need to refer to like external moments in time. Like it can't just be understood by like a static analysis of like this mental picture. It has this way of like stretching forward, of having like these, the intention is like sort of forward looking, in that the cup is like you associate the cup with like the activities you want to do with it, and you also have like the memories of like the recent memories of like what the cup would do, and these like more distant memories about like more distant memories about like how you've used cups, or like how you were trained to use cups as a kid.
This is all about there's a cup on the table.
Yeah, like there's just like all these associations tied into that moment that are external to the present. So yeah, basically he was trying to explain like how intentions are fulfilled within time.
What is this graph about?
Yeah, so this is a graph I found from the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. So this is sort of the activity of internal time consciousness. This is a diagram of how it happens. So like this is the now. F is the now moment. So F like also includes everything on this vertical line, as did these past moments. So E is like this concatenation of things that went before it.
So vertically, so like this from G, F to ED, these are all events happening at the same time.
No. So these are moments that are just in the past. These have just passed, but F isn't isolated, is what he's saying. That F like also includes within that conscious activity, it includes moments that are just past, like this comet's tail is how he describes it.
Oh, I see.
Like this comet's tail always precedes things, and it always reaches just a little bit into the future. It anticipates slightly.
Got it.
Like this is the way our analysis of the moment looks. There's a lot more complexity to it in the actual manuscripts. Like, we're not going to get into all of that. Like he has almost these mathematical formulas of how these things relate. But yeah, it's pretty cool. But basically, Heidegger was editing this, and I think he took an interest in time that like really carries over to his first major work, but in a very different way, where it's not just this static like it's not just like this static conscious activity, like this path, like in Husserl it's almost like passive. It's like you're just receiving time, and like unconsciously it forms this like array of moments that comes to constitute your understanding of things. Like Heidegger started to see it almost like in an existential light. Like we have this like we have this concern that directs our orientation in the world. So it's not just something passive anymore.
Can you give me an example about the difference between these two people?
We will. That's what
Okay.
most of these slides are about.
Okay.
So yeah. Anyways, just know that this interest in time carries over to his first major work,
Okay.
and that is Being in Time.
Okay.
So yeah, this is like Heidegger's first and very ambitious work. Well, not his first work. I think he administered other lectures, but this is like his major publication. And he's trying to address the question of being, of what being means. So again, remember this is like sort of related to Husserl's project of fundamental ontology, which was the purpose of phenomenology, to understand like what essences there are. But the meaning of being to him is something, it's a little bit different than how Husserl understood it. Which we'll get into. So
we're not gonna get into it right now.
That's on the next slide.
Okay, so what are we gonna get into right now?
I think we're gonna talk a little bit about time, because we know being. You can tell in Being in Time, like you can sort of see why being is important. It's about the question of being. So like, what about time? Like why time? So, like just like the time manuscripts from the last slide, Being in Time sees, like the present moment as forward directed, like consciousness like projects itself in a way that constitutes its world. Like it's not just like a static like Cartesian analysis of the present. It's like reaching a little bit forward, and also is always like gathering up its understanding of the past. But here it's like in Being in Time, it's not really like a passive mental faculty, but there are like existential projects that's concerned with. It's like a simple way to put it is like the practical things that we do, like the things we do are prior to any mental experiences. Like before we think like, oh, I'm experienced the cup, like I just used the cup to drink. Like that's the thing that's prior within Heidegger.
I think that's the mindfulness we often talk about now is about being aware of your experience. Like I'm gonna pick up the cup. I am picking up the cup.
Yeah, sort of. He's like Heidegger's sometimes been interpreted as this. Yeah, like by the existentialists like Jean-Paul Sartre. He's like Being in Time was sometimes interpreted as this like existentialist project. Like there's a lot of Kierkegaard within the book, and like. Yeah, this is what Husserl really didn't like about it, because like to him it just like at a surface glance it just looks like he's doing like anthropology, and he tried to prove that he was like Husserl was always trying to prove like, you know, I'm like reaching the foundation of science, and like I'm not like, even though I'm like concerned with like the human mind, like this is the foundation, and then like my student wants to like do anthropology again. So like that's what bothered him about this, and yeah, it's I think been like a little bit misinterpreted. Although yes, Sartre's interpretation is sort of complicated, but he was seen as like an existentialist philosopher almost, like that had to do with like how consciousness constitutes itself in the world, like how lived experience is prior.
How what
like,
is prior?
Like lived experience is prior.
Is a prior condition? Yeah,
like the way Jean-Paul Sartre puts it is like existence precedes essence.
So we have to exist first before. What is essence here?
Like basically like our intellectual understanding of things.
Well, yeah, you have to exist first before you understand something.
Yeah, I mean it seems like common sense, but like people saw it as like for Sartre it was sort of like a refutation of all like European philosophy, like Descartes and Kant, and where like these like intellectual faculties were prior.
Oh, because Descartes said, "I think,
Yeah.
so I am."
For
Something like
Descartes,
that?
yeah, that was the foundation.
Huh.
Yeah, and yeah, the critique of Descartes is a big part of being in time.
Cool.
So yeah, but this is also a radical break from Husserl, who was sort of in that idealist tradition, because being is not something that like transcends time anymore. Like it's like essences. For Husserl, essences were eternal, and like there was always something beyond time to understand within our mental acts. Like there's something that applied universally, like and something that you could reach through phenomenological analysis, even if it took like forever. But like Heidegger doesn't presuppose that there's anything beyond time, like that being exists outside of time, basically.
He doesn't presuppose that.
Yeah, he doesn't presuppose eternal essences, basically.
Okay.
So yeah, and being in time, like the subject is like fundamentally historically bound.
So is history also
Existentialist?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say at all.
Okay. What are some other kinds that are parallel to existentialist?
Well, Jean-Paul Sartre's, I feel like the one who like defined it like most clearly. Like he like self-identified as this existentialist philosopher. He's like,
What are other things? What are other categories?
I guess like an existentialist would tend to like believe that there's certain like you can only make decisions for yourself. Like there are certain things that are incommunicable. Like that. Yeah, I don't know how to put it more clearly, except that existence precedes essence. It's like.
Yeah, I know. I understand this is one
Uh-huh.
one of many categories, but I'm just wondering, what are other isms other than the existential?
For Heidegger?
No, just like in philosophy.
Oh, there's a lot.
Yeah, like give me some examples.
Like, well, every major philosopher has like an ism, like Cartesianism, Kantianism.
But how do they comprehend the relationship between existence and essence?
Well,
do they comprehend? Do they understand these two differently, or relationship between these two differently?
So, Aristotle, for instance, would definitely. I mean, okay. Well, the key example is Plato.
Okay.
Plato would definitely think that essence precedes existence, that there are eternal essences, and that through the Platonic dialogue, that's what he was trying to tap into, that, bring out that understanding.
Is this called Platoism or something?
Yeah.
This is called Platoism?
No.
I just made it up.
It's like, I think the adjective is like Platonian.
Oh.
But like, I mean, yeah, like throughout, like from Plato, like the priority of ideas, like is always emphasized in Western philosophy, but like it was like in the 20th century, these sort of trendy French philosophers started to say, like existence is prior, like you can't reason about history, or like there's also like absurdism, like there's just no reason like within human activity.
There's no reason within human activity.
Yeah, like there's no reasoning about your situation. Like you just have to accept it.
So this is existence comes first.
Yeah.
And then essence comes.
Yeah, like Sartre used to say, like just like invent. Like there's no reasoning about history.
Oh. So is Descartes a successor of Plato?
You could say that, yeah.
Okay, got it. Cool.
Yeah, he definitely believes in like eternal. He believes in like ideal essences and like also material essences.
Okay.
But yeah, anyways, so yeah, basically Heidegger is like a departure from Husserl and also like pretty radical within philosophy, that he's almost like given up on these eternal essences that phenomenology was sinking, like within this whole like phenomenology was sort of like the end point of like the whole metaphysical project of history. Heidegger like has this very like radical turn against the whole Western tradition, and that has to do with his understanding of what being means, which is our next slide.